Okay, I'm not supposed to be singing. Hey, y'all, it's Monday night. It is 8 p.m. in the city, 8 p.m. in the city by the shore. Beautiful South Florida, for Lauderdale to be exact. Well, Lauderhill to be exact. Coming from the home studio. Kudos to my brother KV. He's away on assignment. He's doing something. Okay, let's just see it like that. We got something he and I are going to need to talk about. But tonight is Ed Sullivan used to say. How many of y'all live to remember Ed Sullivan? He said we're going to have a really, really, really big show. Can't talk like him, but that's what he said. So tonight we're going to talk about the exploitation of women throughout history medically. We're going to talk about their exploitation, but medically in specific. In the sports block, we're going to look at where we are with the Final Four. We're going to talk about a hot TV series and kind of survey the new season of TV programs during this season. And we want to leave you with a little funny. We got a little funny we want to share with you at the end. But tonight, I'm so blessed to have with me a sister that sister in arms. We work together. We do this democracy thing together. She just did a dynamic presentation for us at Faith in Florida a couple Thursday nights ago. And she's going to bring some of the elements to the show in a little bit different format. I want to introduce to you to the dialogue, Miss Angela Bivins.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Thank you for having me.
Miss Angela, thank you for being with us tonight. Okay, thank you for simply being with us. I want to do something that I normally would have done before I brought you on, but since you're here, let's go ahead and do it. We call this episode "This Week in Orange Madness." This week in Orange Madness. This week's edition of Orange Madness. Y'all know what I'm talking about, don't you? Yeah, I know. So, allegedly, per a prominent newspaper, it's in one of the biggest cities in the world, the biggest city in the world, something like that. Y'all know what I'm talking about. The former secretary, the former chief of staff for the Secretary of Defense, not Secretary of War, the Secretary of Defense, alleged that the Secretary of Defense was reminded that the current president would not want to stand next to a black female officer or a black female period. So in anything that they do not have him standing by a black female, probably a black period, but a black female officer for sure. And that's the first thing we want to list when we talk about this week in Orange Madness. And also want to talk about, because this topic tonight is too grand to spend time with all of this stuff. But we do want to mention that there were about 8 million protesters across the country in every state, every major city, some rural places, all over the country. Can we get the poster on that that stood up and protested No King's Day? Yeah. No King's Day. Can y'all repeat that after me? No King's Day. We don't have that in this country. We don't have it. We don't play that foolishness. That's why we got from under the British crown. I've been to Boston. I've seen the sights. That's why we had the Boston Tea, all of that stuff. We don't have kings in this country. We are a democracy, not a monarchy. All right? I'm not saying it right, but y'all know what I mean. We don't have a monarch. It's a democracy. No King's Day. The people stood up around the country this week. Also, on the Orange Madness, there's a lot of waffling going on back and forth about a 15-point plan, whether or not Iran has been given deadlines to stop the war, to do these things so that the war will cease. Well, we'll see how that comes out. And also, let me just say this. Good luck with all of that, because there's a truth factor involved. And y'all know his orangeness has a serious issue with the truth, all right? And finally, because I want to get to the topic, because it's too serious to lose time with this, because this is going to be ongoing. Trust me, every day. It's been that way so far. Apparently, this president has given an order which sends TSA workers back to work. The issue is there are no existing funds. There are no existing funds, which apparently is so because the Congress has not approved any. So there's no money. So where the money gonna come from, y'all? Where the money gonna come from? However it works out, and we pray that our brothers and sisters on the line that help us out when we got to go by the airways can um, be refunded so they can get back to work and get their back pay and all of that right now. But listen, let me be fair. Don't shoot the messenger. Kudos to his orangeness for at least having the guts to try to get involved and to fix this situation for the workers. There's a whole lot more dynamics involved, but we'll talk about that later. Hello, Miss Kathy. Thanks for joining the show tonight. We'll talk about that later. Listen, let's get into the show. Tonight's show is entitled "The Exploitation of Women Throughout History Medically." The medical exploration of women. That's what we want to talk about tonight. And blessed to have with me Sister Angela Bivins, and thank you, sis, again for hopping on tonight. Uh, just can you give us a brief introduction to yourself and then an introduction to the show?
Sure, sure. Well, thank you for having me. It's truly a blessing and honor to be a part of your podcast. My name is Angela Lynn Bivins. Everyone calls me Lynn because my mother's name is also Angela. So I'm somewhat a junior. um, just to give you a brief introduction about tonight's show, exploitation of Black women, Black and Brown women. It's just to cover the beginning of our history and how we were exploited. And what basically triggered me to want to look into this about health is because me, myself, I also have endometriosis and I suffer from stage 4 endometriosis, which is very rare. It grows in my lungs, it grows all over my body. I've been hospitalized a few times because of it. So I dive deeper into Black women's health. And I wanted to get these sisters' names out there to make everyone aware of the troubles and the things that we have encountered from the beginning of slavery and how we have been overlooked for years when it comes to our health. So I hope that you enjoyed tonight's podcast, you learned something, and you take it back and you share these names.
Well, I missed that in our presentation the other day, but God's blessing and healing. I speak healing into your body and wholeness, and thank you for sharing that with our audience tonight.
Oh, thank you.
We bless you. Listen, you got a video. We have several very short videos. If you equate it to social media will call them almost shorts. They're a little longer than shorts, but you have a video to introduce one of the women. You want to show that, Madam Producer?
The story of an African woman who was used as a circus animal by the Europeans. Bartman grew up on a colonial farm where she and her family worked as servants. By her teenage years, with still a lot to learn about life, Bartman married a Khoikhoi man who was a drummer. Husband was taken away from the face of earth by Dutch colonists. Soon after, she was sold into slavery to a trader named Peter Willem Cesar, who took her to Cape Town, where she became a domestic slave to his brother, Hendrik. This contract required her to travel with the Cesar brothers and Dunlop to England and Ireland, where she would work as a slave. She was sold 4 years later to Paris, where she was under the control of a wild animal exhibitor in a traveling circus. George Cuvier saw her and developed a scientific interest. His main idea of science was proving the superiority of the white people.
Now, we kind of changed some of the videos from the presentation, but explain what happened to her in this nation, please, ma'am.
So in this nation, what happened to Miss Sarah Bartman was she was taken from her country in Africa and brought to the States to be exploited, basically because of her body parts. Her body parts was larger than the normal female that the Europeans were used to. She had a larger bottom, she had larger breasts, she had larger lips. And as we know, as Black women, we are shaped totally different from the normal white women. And because of that, the white man took interest in this and exploited her, added her to his carnivals, to his freak shows, profited off of her, didn't give her any of the profit, of course. She was raped, she was abused, And it's all because she didn't look like the normal woman.
On this night, and this is the last Monday in counting down Women's History, Women's Observance Month. We're going to always observe women, but um, we're casting a spotlight on what our women went through to get us here. Listen, I resisted when you started describing and saying how the women differ, because I'm a preacher. I did resist I resisted making any comments like hallelujah when you were making those disparities. But anyway, I digress. Um, the real culprit, you identified a real culprit for doing that here in the States. And I think you got to, I just let you introduce that whole piece.
Yeah, the real corporate was the European white men, simply because they looked at us women as a profit. They didn't see our value. They didn't take anything of us important. All they saw us as a money making machine. So that's the real corporate.
So there's an individual in specific, there's a specific individual that you identified. And I'm going to ask Madam Producer to play that video so we can know more about him.
Mhm.
Marion Sims was born in Lancaster, South Carolina, and he attended 1 year of lectures here at the Medical College of the State of South Carolina between 1832 and 1833. He is considered to be the father of modern gynecology. He did some pioneer work in instruments and tools, so things like using silver sutures in gynecological surgery. He also invented what's called the Sims speculum. He is also well known for the controversy surrounding his work on the repair of vesicovaginal fistula. It was incredibly painful, and it was also a cause of embarrassment and shame. So a lot of women who were afflicted with it were really in dire need of some sort of remedy for it.
I think that medicine has not done a good job on recognizing the effect that racism more specifically has had on the health of the African American and underserved populations and other populations as well. But the medical profession in general has not done a good job in dealing with racism and the effect that it has had on the health of people at large.
Sister Bivins, explain explicitly what he did to our women. And there were 3 women, I remember from the presentation. And just let our audience know graphically just how horrifically they suffered at his hands without proper medical protocol and the pain involved.
Okay. So Dr. J. Marion Sims, he was also known as the butcher and also known as the father of gynecology. This man operated on 3 young women. They were their names were Anarcha, Westcott, Betsy, and Lucy. All 3 women were under the age of 18. Anarcha was 17, Bessie was 18, and Lucy was 16. He operated on all 3 of these women without anesthesia, and he cut them open several times on top of wounds several times. He kept all 3 women in his home, located in the back of his home, just in case he would wake up in the middle of the night with an epiphany on something else that he can do to them to help women, white women with any gynecological issues. This man, he saw Black women as strong. He felt that because of their skin, because of their melanin, they can endure pain. He felt that they were useless. And on top of him experimenting on them, he also had them working in his homes, taking care of their children, taking care of his wife, taking care of other women, helping other women with birth. Kind of became nurses for other women on his plantation, because he also owned others enslaved women and men. Um, as you can, because of his nickname, the Butcher, I'm sure you can imagine just the types of things he did to them. Um, it was unbelievable what he did to them.
I remember specifically the other night you saying that he performed 30 procedures on one woman.
Anarka. He performed over 30 procedures on her. She was actually the main woman. Um, and on her, he performed 30 procedures without anesthesia. Um, because of her, he was able to invent a procedure to help women with their bladder leakages. Um, she endured a lot. She endured a lot.
Any other, and because we're not here to give him any praise for what he did, because he exploited women. He didn't do it with their consent, permission. He did it out of force, likely. Um, we want to acknowledge our beloved mentor, Dr. Bracy, is with us tonight. How about there were some other unseemly things, procedures that he did to women? Can you highlight
Mhm.
some of those, please?
Yes, one of the main ones which I mentioned was regarding the bladder. Um, he operated on a narca, and it's considered a repair for the vagal fistula, which is a spontaneous urine leakage, and that was a result of her several surgeries performed on her. As a matter of fact, because of everything that he did to her, she died in June of 1869, actually. She had different infections from all of these surgeries, and she ended up passing away from it.
So Dozie Land, I want you to keep this in keep this in mind. Miss Angela has said several times that these procedures were done without anesthesiology.
Mhm.
And let me, I know, being a deep researcher, that you and your team, Nanda, and that group, I know you did the research. Anesthesia was around and was used on other people at those times, right?
Correct, except for the Black woman.
Wow. I just can't imagine the ages that you spoke of.
Mhm.
Uh, and I don't want the show to be totally negative. I don't want it to be negative, but I do want us to have a context of what our women have gone through to get us where we were, to
Yeah,
get us to where we were. I mean, beginning with, if you want to go back to biblical days, to God navigating the circumstances that Moses' mother, would be the one who would actually nurse him. Am I right
yeah,
about that, theologians,
yeah,
preachers?
yeah.
Uh, but we have our women have always been strong. That's the point that I really want to get out there. Our women have already been strong, always been strong, and always made things happen. Um,
And even post slavery, to this day, up until now, um, although slavery ended, healthcare disparities for the Black woman didn't. You have 2 out of 3 Black women that have passed away from pregnancy issues. You have the quality of care for Black women is lacking. We're diagnosed at the last minute when it comes to cancer, when it comes to mental health. You know, we have a lot of issues even until this day. So just because slavery ended, disparities in the Black women healthcare, it didn't.
I was going to ask you to kind of bring up to date now. This even what we saw displayed during these days even have carried over to today's healthcare battle. And
Yes.
I don't want to make this the topic, but even with women's healthcare, as regards to childbirth now,
Yeah.
you care to elaborate on that?
Just as I mentioned, every 2 out of 3 Black women, they encounter issues when it comes to maternal health, when it comes to deliveries, when it comes to epidurals, also in mental health. We're diagnosed last when it comes to our health, when it comes to cancer, our treatment. We don't get quality care. We're given poor care. We're overlooked. It's like I said, even though slavery ended, the disparities for Black women's health didn't. It carried over through today, and if we don't use our voice, it will continue to carry on.
So Mac, Mac, I'm gonna do my best, Mac, to stay serious because this is a serious topic. But when you talk about Serena Williams, are you saying that Mac's been with us since this show started in 2020? Are you saying that she epitomizes all of those things, Mac, that Sister Bivens was highlighting that distinguishes the Black woman from other women, particularly white women? Yeah, I'm talking to Mac like I'm expecting to hear from him. I know he'll hit me up soon. Okay, let's hear what Daniel Bynes will say. Thank all of our viewers for taking time to be with us on this very serious topic tonight. Okay, childbirth problems. All right, yes. Okay, I think I probably sound like Mike Smerconish and him going to the videotape late early on one on Wolf. Okay, Daniel Bynes says that Black women have always been expected to have a high pain tolerance, so they often not listen to when they tell physicians what they are experiencing. You want to come on that, Miss Angela?
Yeah, I think it's we suffer from not being able to be comfortable with using our voice to say how we feel. Because of history, Black women were taught to be quiet, don't speak on anything. Oh, it'll be okay. And that has transcended with us to today's time. When it comes to pain, when it comes to us feeling different, headaches, pain in our chest, we think it's okay or we'll be fine. And sometimes we overlook those things because we're too scared to speak up. We don't want to go through doctors. We don't want to, seem like we're nagging or being the angry Black woman, because that's how we're seen if we speak up. So yes, Black women, because we have been seen and we have endured pain for so long, we're afraid to speak up.
Not to digress, serious topic.
Mhm.
But is that what my wife is when I forget, I forget, to hang up my shirt or I haven't hung it up fast. So is that what she is? No, I'm just joking. There's another video. We're moving so well on time. There's another video that we want to show, and that'll take us. We'll have you elaborate on that before we
Okay.
go to the break.
Did you know modern gynecology owes much of its foundation to enslaved Black women who endured unimaginable pain? Let's talk about the mothers of gynecology, Anarcha, Betsy, and Lucy. I'm Dr. J, a board-certified OBGYN, and this is Breaking Bias, Black Legacy in Reproductive Health. Together, we'll explore the impact of racial bias in healthcare and work toward breaking these barriers to build a healthier and more equitable future for all. In the 1840s, Dr. J. Marion Sims, often called the father of modern gynecology, conducted experimental surgeries on enslaved women without anesthesia. These women, Anarcha, Betsy, and Lucy, are known as the mothers of gynecology. Their sacrifices laid the groundwork for many gynecological advancements, but at what cost? Anarcha, a teenager at the time, underwent at least 30 surgeries as Sims attempted to perfect a technique to repair obstetric fistulas. Betsy and Lucy also endured repeated experiments, all without consent or pain relief. Sims justified this by falsely claiming Black women didn't feel the pain the same way white women did, a harmful myth that still influences healthcare disparities today. The legacy of Anarcha, Betsy, and Lucy reminds us why we must challenge racial bias in medicine. Study shows Black patients are still less likely to receive adequate pain management, a direct echo of this harmful history. Thanks for watching Breaking Bias, Black Legacy and Reproductive Health. Together, we can raise awareness and break the barriers to care. Like, share, and follow for more stories that inspire change.
Well, you know, there's always someone to expose. God always exposes things, just like you're opening our eyes, just like you did me a few weeks ago, always exposing us. Hello, Rico. And we thank you for opening our eyes that we see these things. Dan, I responded to Daniel under my name on the other platform, but I want to certainly. But let me just say what I want to say to Daniel, and again, we're thankful for all of our viewers. Bless you, Rico. We still encounter medical racism that what one author would refer to as medical apartheid. That sounds like something Jesse Jackson would have said. Let's pick up on the other side after the break. Can we do that?
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. So where Rico and I came from, there used to be a commercial which says gospel, blues, or jazz. If it's on radio, it's any of Paul Kaiser's 4 record bars. Well, I'm going to say all of your digital needs are covered by the team of Gold Gigger X. Did I say that? All of them, every one of them. I sound like that guy. We're going to show him one night who does the insurance commercial. All of our digital needs are caught and picked up by the team of the Toyas and Kia at Gold Gigger X. Not only can they listen, I'll let you judge, but they make me look all right. If they can do this, you know they can make you look great. They cover us digitally and they cover us web-wise. They'll build your website to perfection. That's the team of Go Gig X. Go ahead, contact them right now. You can even take a 30-second excursion from the show to contact the team of Go Giga X. We thank you for everything you do, Go Giga X. You are simply the greatest. All right. At this midpoint, there are some things we want to touch on before we get back into the show. Our democracy moment this night. I want to talk about women's right to vote. Women's right to vote. This is, like I said, we're culminating Women's Observance Month, and I want to talk about women's right to vote. Bless you, Bishop. Did you not know that women officially didn't get an amendment to vote until the 19th Amendment, which was passed in 1920, the year of 1920. Why it had to be August? Why my birth month? August 18th, 1920 is when it officially passed, and there still was resistance. Women got the right to vote. You can put the post up, Madam Producer. And I was going to put up, I actually was going to put up a poster of women marching, but I'll leave that alone. It didn't have any of us, and I didn't want to do it, even though that would not have been true. But for millions of Americans, still millions of women of color in this country, a significant part of this country, giving women the right to vote, still women did not have the right to vote. Women of color did not have the right to vote. Women of color did not have the right to vote. This is what they dealt with, particularly Black women in the South, particularly in the South. They had to deal with policies such as poll taxes, literacy tests, grandfather clauses, and felony disenchantment law, different disenfranchised laws. I can read and I can see. Help me. Um, Sounds like anything going on today. Sounds like what we've been watching Congress stay up all night long over the weekends and protests, and people like Reverend Dr. Senator Warnock has had to stand up, and people like Cory Booker, Senator Booker, have had to stand up and protest against. Well, this is nothing new. Native American women, Asian American women, Latino women were the ones who were not systematically, because they didn't have to be systematically. When President Wilson finally bought on to let women vote, it didn't matter. It didn't matter for these groups of women and other groups of minority, Native Americans, our indigenous women, Asian Americans, Latino women. They were not allowed to vote. Well, still fighting for those rights, still really fighting, and fighting that the rights, that the votes are not taken away. When I say fighting, there are systematic ways that they're not able to do it. Women have endured disenfranchised on so many things that have kept them from voting, even after having gained the rights in 2019. How can you believe families, husbands wouldn't allow them to vote because there were pressure from fundamental preachers and others who said that women didn't, even though they legally, by this constitution of this nation, said they had the right to vote, would not let them vote and would put pressure on the husbands. Does that sound like anything going on today? Wow. It sounds just like what we're dealing with. So black women, black men, and other voters of color were kept out of the democratic process until the rise of the civil rights movement in the mid 1920s. And on last week, I reminded us of the Voters' Right Act of 1965 that at least gave all people the right to vote. What I'm trying to say to you is that voting is a price was paid. Do not let that go in vain. It's a terrible privilege to waste. I'm trying to fix this up. It's a terrible privilege to waste. Please, ma'am, please, sir, make sure everybody, I can't joke about this thing. Make sure everyone in your bloodline, all the way down to that 6-year-old, talk to his or her parents and be sure that they are registered at age 16, that they're pre-registered to vote. All right, our Black History moment, our Woman History moment in the spotlight is none other than our guest tonight, Miss Angela Lynn Bivins. Now, she's going to get me because this is a surprise to her. As you heard her say, she hails to us from the dirty down in Carroll City, Florida, Miami Gardens, Florida. She's a nursing administrator at a local hospital. She's known for her organizational skills. You can see right now her creative thinking, her ability to translate vision into execution. What an awesome gift. And she's very passionate about things that she's doing, empowering teams to fight for democracy and strengthening healthcare systems, creating an atmosphere where patients and professionals thrive. We need that in today's business community. Beyond her healthcare leadership, Angela has a profound passion for her heritage. As you can see, talking about our history, you see that right now. And she's a child of the King, and she has no problem professing her love for the Lord. Miss Angela, I didn't forget this fact. You have been a member under Pastors Ranzer and Rhonda Thomas. You have been a member of New Generations Missionary Baptist Church for 26 years. And you come to bless us with that as a background. She loves music. She wants to be a DJ. Can you believe I used to want to do that? You probably picked up on that in the show tonight. She's a lover of art and creativity, and she loves comedy. Got to turn you on to a comedy club whenever you are in Duval. Angela L. Bivins. She's our Black history and our woman's history person in the spotlight on tonight. All right. Well, If I was a DJ, I would now say back to more music. But let's get back to the topic. We're going to spend a few more minutes on the topic. Can you elaborate on that last video, Miss Angela? I know you're kind of taken aback, but you'll be all right.
Yes, that was a big surprise. But thank you, thank you. I'm very honored and humbled. So the last video was about Dr. Sims and Anarcha and the three women, Anarcha, Betsy, and Lucy, and all of the surgeries Dr. Sims performed on them. All collective, each 30 plus surgeries on top of their regular duties that they had to do for Dr. Sims and his family.
And could you just very briefly remind our audience of what their duties were, their voluntary duties were at that?
Voluntarily, I don't think.
No. I'm saying she did those things voluntarily. She was not paid. They were not paid.
Oh, right. Correct. They had to endure several surgeries. Like I said, 30 plus each. They were operated on over and over on top of other wounds from previous surgeries. Dr. Sims kept them close. He experimented on them. And on top of them being experimented on, they were experimented on with no anesthesia. So this is while they could feel every cut, every puncture. They were awake. They were not asleep. So can you imagine giving birth, being cut, having a C-section, having something, shoved up in you, or just, I don't want to get too explicit, but just imagine going through all of that with no anesthesia and you're awake. And then after that, you don't have time to rest. You go and you take care of his home. You help his wife. You help his children. You help other enslaved women that may be giving birth. You help other enslaved women at different properties, because he also leased them to be nurses for other enslaved homes and plantations. So, and they were all under the age of 18.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Bishop, we kind of addressed that earlier today, talking about the No Kings rally. We shall overcome. I'm trying to think of Dr. Bracy's song that I see a breakthrough coming through. Sooner or later, things will get better. We believe that, and we trust God for that in response to your comment. Thank you all for your comments. Keep commenting. We got another video that talks about Henrietta Lacks. Let's hear from that.
Some of the most important advancements in modern medical research can ultimately be traced back to a black woman who worked on a tobacco farm before World War II. Her name was Henrietta Lacks. In February 1951, Lacks was diagnosed with an aggressive form of cervical cancer at the Johns Hopkins Hospital. Unbeknownst to her, a sample of her cells was sent to a tissue lab. A cell biologist isolated and then multiplied it.
As it turned out, the cells did not die, as would normally be the case. And in fact, they were doubling at this phenomenal rate. They would just keep replicating.
Although these weren't the first human cells to be grown in a lab, this was the first time they survived more than a few days. This huge medical breakthrough allowed researchers to conduct experiments on human cells outside of the body. The cells were given the name HeLa, a combination of the first two letters of Henrietta Lacks' first and last names. Although they carry her name, Lacks, who passed away at the young age of 31, would never know that her cells had been extracted for scientific research. Lacks' family members only learned that her cells had been harvested 2 decades after her death. A Rolling Stone journalist contacted them and revealed that Lacks' cells had been duplicated and then used for research by countless scientists. The article called the work a critical tool in medical research. While HeLa cells have played a crucial role in scientific advancement, the fact that Lacks herself never consented to the research means that her cells were used unethically. What's more, her case was part of a long tradition of the use of African American bodies without their consent for medical and scientific research, dating back to slavery. and including the infamous Tuskegee syphilis study.
It was part of a culture of not respecting the core humanity of black folk and how they were being treated either by medical researchers or even by physicians.
Despite the ethical debate around the harvesting of Lacks cells, scientists have continued to use the immortal HeLa cell line all over the world. Research involving polio vaccines, chemotherapy, HIV/AIDS, cloning, and IVF have all benefited from the HeLa cell line.
Miss Angela, let me ask you, and you still working in the medical field, is there any chance, in view of all the laws and protocols put in place, that stuff like that still happens today, particularly with people of color?
I believe so, only because just looking at what Miss Henrietta went through and how her cells were taken, to me, she is the epitome of the slogan Black Girl Magic. We're just different. We're powerful. And because of that, I think people look to us for experiments, and they take our blood, they take our cells. We see what happened with her. So yes, I believe it is.
Wow, unbelievable. One of the things that I took from the presentation was that our very own researcher, Miss Linda, said that while working on a PhD program, she happened to use some of those cells, and someone brought it to her attention, the extreme value of what she was working with. She had never heard of it, and to hear you talk about it the other day really brought it to brought us to know the importance of it. All researchers must go through an institutional review board. Amen. Well, you know what, Daniel, and I hope you don't mind us calling you that. There's still ethics. There's still ethics. I guarantee you there are people in the Orange administration who had ethics in law school, in medical school, because the presidential administration covers in the Senate, in the House, covers a broad band of citizens from every spectrum of the industry, work industry. And I guarantee you, they all went through ethics courses, and look how things are being run. I'll leave that right there. Let's go to the next video, and let's elaborate on that one.
I'm in Montgomery, Alabama, standing with Michelle Browder, looking at her amazing sculpture that honors 3 women whose sacrifice has been lost to history: Anarcha, Betsy, and Lucy.
So Anarcha was 17 at the time of her first experimentation. There was a vesical vaginal fistula.
Marion Sims, a doctor in the early part of the 19th century, decided to try to cure this and used enslaved women's bodies in order to find a cure, but also very much to promote his own career.
In some arenas, he's known as the father of modern gynecology, but then if you're aware of what he did, he's known as Father Butcher.
And Anarcha was the first patient to be brought to Sims who suffered from fistula. The other 10 or so women that he experimented on were all enslaved women who he purchased or rented, of population who had absolutely no choice in the matter. This is before the development of anesthesia, so these women were operated on, sutured, all without anesthesia.
People make the argument, oh, well, they didn't have anesthesia then. It was a crime against humanity.
And it was something that white male doctors felt entirely privileged and had a right to do to black women's bodies, and not something that they felt they had a right to do to white women's bodies.
Right, because there was the notion out there that black women had a high tolerance for pain, and or that they didn't feel pain at all, or that black people had thicker skin. This lie that was told. And so these doctors were able to do whatever whatever they wanted to.
The transatlantic slave trade was outlawed in 1808, but that meant it was all the more important for the enslaved women who were here to have more babies.
If you're no longer bringing enslaved Africans over to be enslaved, how do you replenish your stock? You make these women have children.
If they had trouble after their pregnancy with something like a fistula, that needed to be repaired so that they continue to have babies and enhance their value to their enslaver. So let's look closely at the three figures. Each figure is individualized.
We did that because each one of them had their own identity. On the back of Betsy, you could see scarification. You could see the bodies of men. And then on Anarcha, around her legs, there are bodies of people. And then around Lucy, there's bodies around her waist. So that represents the slave ship. And if you notice, their backs are straight. There's a posture, a beauty about each one of them.
Anarcha in the front raises her head, arches her neck, and looks up.
Because if you can imagine being in a horrific situation like this, you got to have some kind of faith that one day it will end. And so she's in a constant state of prayer. And each one of them has a Dinkra symbol, and her symbol says Supreme God. Betsy's is strength, and then Lucy is that of friendship, because they formed a friendship. On Lucy, you can notice the designs on her back represent the whippings, the beatings.
I also see chains and other things that remind me of torture.
Yes. Well, her hair made of bicycle chains.
They have these porous surfaces that suggest the penetrating tools and gaze of the white men who operated on them. And then there's a fourth part on the pedestal, the same shape as the space that's been removed from Anarcha. And so we have a displaced womb.
That womb was done by Deborah Cedric, a Black woman artist here in Montgomery. She wanted to show the trauma to the womb.
Well, I noticed inside specula, scissors, chains.
Which represents the bondage, or not being able to be free.
They're cut off at the arms and legs.
Well, they didn't have the capacity to help their situation. Sure, they could have killed themselves, but they chose to continue to live. And now because of their lives, other lives are now being saved because of the procedures.
Today, these procedures help cure thousands of women. One of the things I notice is just how embellished the figures are. And I recognize tools like wrenches or scissors, but there's also beautiful decorative forms, flowers and butterflies and things that I associate with femininity.
So everything that you see were discarded items, but they still had value. And I think it speaks to the situation in which they found themselves. They were stripped of humanity, their identity, and so the thought was to give them some identity. So the Bantu knots, the braids, the cornrows.
And Betsy is also inscribed with names of very important women.
You have women like Big Mama Thornton, you have Augusta Savage, Fannie Lou Hamner, Tamika Mallory, and Barbara Ross Lee. You have Eartha Kitt, you have Harriet Jacobs. So each one of these names are either enslaved women or women who have struggled through the civil rights movement or women who are making progress today.
What we've done over the last 100 years or more is make monuments to white men that are very fraught. Leaving these women out, it's tragic.
But monuments must change, and they're changing, and it's taken a creative approach to do it. But I think now the season is ripe and ready to change the narrative using art.
So even if the old monuments, and there is one right nearby to Mr. Sims, doesn't come down, we still have your monument.
Absolutely. That's what we're hoping that people will get from this, is the history behind it. And that's not what you're going to get from these other statues around the city. You're not going to get the real education as to what happened.
So there we have it. You see just what has gone on. These atrocities that women have faced, people of color. We see just what they face. You have any final? We got about 35 seconds. Can you wrap that up for us, please, Sister Angela?
I would just say, remember their names, Anarcha, Betsy, and Lucy. They went through a lot for all of us. And continue to speak your truth, continue to speak out, And remember, in Central Park, they did remove one of Dr. J. Marion Sims' statues. So that's a brighter note.
Amen. Yeah, did one come down in Montgomery also, or
I
Washington?
don't think so. Not the one in Montgomery.
Okay, so 2 remain, 1 down.
Yes.
Okay, so hopefully we don't have to go through another all of the trauma and drama of the pandemic and all of the murders that took place to blacks in order for them to take statues down of rebels and evildoers to us. Miss Angela, you are the bomb. Hey, we got about 8 minutes. You want to stick around with us and have a little fun?
Sure.
All right. I hope this interests you. You've been great, and thank you all. Let's transition over to sports. The Final Four is a big thing. I want to talk about where does LeBron go from here, but we'll talk about that another time. In the Final Four, there was a tremendous shot which your boy missed yesterday. I was out with the wife. Yeah, that's right, Madam Laura Lee. Yeah, thanks, Mac. Man, you're so so well versed. But I went back and looked at it every angle. Let's look at the video of this shot and how it has shaped the tournament and changed it.
Head, Boozer, that ball deflected and stolen by Mullins. Caravan, 2 seconds. Mullins tosses it up. Oh! It's good! With .3! UConn goes in front! Utterly impossible! March means drama!
0.3 seconds left. Not quite half court. That was almost a Steph Curry shot. But when I went back, I've looked at it several times. That brother had the great wrist action as a pure shooter would have. How would I know? I don't know, because I'm not one. But I've had to defend them, and I know it when I see it. He stepped across half court. He had about 3 feet on this side, on the proper side of the half court line, and shot that shot with 0.3 seconds left. Now, here's the controversy. The coach of North Carolina was fired after losing last year in the round of Sweet 16, and now the coach of Duke, who has failed. He did make it to the Final Four, but has failed again to advance to where the Dukies think that he should have. You haven't heard many people talking about dismissing him. I'm going to go back and look to see what they said this morning on First Take. I taped it. I'm going to go back and look at it. Of course, the reason, and you say you're always interjecting color. Well, one's black, a homegrown North Carolina Carolina blue, and then you have the person Hubert Davis and this brother from Duke. They're talking about that, and he blew. Thanks, Mac. Thank you, man, for riding shotgun with me on Monday nights. He blew a 19-point lead. I missed it, so I didn't think to mention that. So consequently, the Final Four this weekend, the men's division will be Michigan, which the Mad Dog was still around. He'd say Michigan. Michigan will play Arizona. That ought to be, we'll see what kind of game that's going to be. Arizona expected to win the whole title, the whole tournament. Duke was rated number 1, was seeded number 1. We'll see. And then Connecticut plays Illinois, the Illini. Next week, I'm going to feature some great moments from tournament history. Y'all remember the shot that North Carolina State, the dunk at the buzzer that beat Houston 5 slammer jammer when they were supposed to win? We're gonna look at that next week. Also, in the women's division, and that game is about to start right now. I'm not gonna give them any free advertisement, but you know that All Sports Network that the Mouse owns. South Carolina plays TCU. Are you a fan at all of basketball, Miss Angela?
I'm a Heat fan.
All right. I'm going to tell you some Heat stories off camera.
Okay.
So funny Heat stories. South Carolina plays TCU. So the women's games will be on Thursday and on Friday and Sunday, the championship Sunday. The men's games will be on Saturday, and the championship will be Monday night. Okay, so South Carolina, Dawn Staley, will play against TCU. TCU has their sister that wears those glasses, and she has some interesting comments. That game is about to start. I'm going to get off so you can see that. And then the winner of that game, or Connecticut, plays UCLA. So it's going to be a very, very interesting. It's going to come down to a very interesting Final Four. UCLA, the experts have said if anybody can unseat Connecticut, it's going to probably be them. Now, you notice something that I said? I said Connecticut in the men's and the women's division. They did that. They won both a few years ago. Lorenzo Charles, thank you, Mac. A few years ago, they won both. The men won and the women won. They've been sticking around. The women has won like 5 out of 6 or 10 out of 12 or some phenomenal number like that. So we got a lot of basketball coming up. Enjoy that. Also, let's transition. We'll talk about the NBA later. I will talk. There's a TV series that I want you all to check it out, not just because of the drama of the TV series, but all of the family dynamics that are interwoven. Let's look at this video and see a little. It's called Boston Blue. It's a spinoff of many of you all Blue Blood fans, and I see it when I can. And Mark Wahlberg is the star of that. And I happened to see this the other night about 2:00 in the morning and just start streaming the back episodes. Check this out.
Back.
Did you miss me? Boston Blue begins with Danny Reagan forced to Boston by a situation that arises with his son. He's having to adapt to a new world.
Hey! Boston PD! Stop!
Danny finds a friend and detective, Lena Silver, who welcomes him into the city, and a magical partnership forms. We found our first clue.
What do you mean we? The partnership is invigorating and hilarious.
You sure you didn't run track?
They challenge each other. You hate that I'm faster than you, don't you?
Maybe.
We're gonna get to meet the Silvers, this prominent law enforcement family in Boston.
Come on in, everybody. It's time for blessings.
Every great story is based on family. And what is more human than breaking bread and telling stories?
The tradition of the Reagan Sunday dinner can live on while being part of this new family.
This whole concept of families sitting around the table, connecting with each other is such a universal thing.
I am Jewish, and we sit around a table once a week for Shabbat dinner, and we have conversations about what's going on in our lives and what's going on in the world, and I thought, well, couldn't we do that?
To be a part of this dinner, the audience will be able to relate to that.
It's the same values that Blue Bloods fans love. It's just an expansion of the already existing universe.
We're honoring the legacy, but also creating this new identity. Boston Blue is a drama with this beautiful heart of relationship, family, tradition, faith. We're also solving cases every week. There's all kinds of romance. There may be some legacy characters coming on too.
There's explosions, there's car chases, there's like just a bunch of cool cop action.
Stay down! Stay down!
Gosh, this city, you know, it just reminds me of where I came from. It's a little, overwhelming. Boston is an iconic city, and we have to capture that. But we also have to capture the subtleties, and we're going to do that too. Can I have my director? We got to go back to work.
Miss Angela, it does have cool cop action, but it's the family dynamics that's interwoven. It's interracial, it's interfaith. It has all of that you see come to the table. Do you watch the Blue Blood or any of that?
I haven't, but I've seen commercials, and I will check it out. It kind of reminds me of Cross.
Of who?
Alex Cross.
Oh, okay, Alex Cross. Wow, okay, going back there. Listen, Dozie, do yourself a favor and look at the first 2 episodes, and if it doesn't draw you in, then that's cool. All right, the hour's on us, but I got to show this dismissal before we sign off and see what my sister and you guys think about this.
Zoom in right here. Now unto him who will make you sleepless until you help somebody. Make you restless until you help yourself. Oh, come on. Now y'all know it is not this cold. Back up. It is not this cold out here. It is not this cold. You shouldn't even have this in Atlanta. Look at her too. It is not this cold. All right.
Well, Jamal, Bryant, and them Covenant brothers, McKissick, and all them guys, they are hilarious. I bet you Pastor Rhonda might crack like that. Probably Pastor
Oh, yeah.
Rhonda a little bit more serious.
Yes, yes.
Well, it has just been a pleasure you being with us tonight. And we think you do have any other closing comments before we get out of here?
No, I just want to thank you once again. Thank you.
I want to thank you for being with us. As we see it, exploitation is in every facet of human life, every facet of it. And we see it as it affects women, people of color, and people of lower financial statuses. Be a freedom fighter, be a democracy fighter. If you can do no more, if your courage level or your, at least pray when you see it. Bring it to the attention when you see exploitation of any human. I don't care what color they are. If you see exploitation of our white brothers or sisters, let somebody know. Do it incognito. Let people know that we don't have to suffer like that. It's been a pleasure doing some women's history things this week that just happened to be Black, and to have this sister, this amazing sister. I want y'all to applaud her because she is awesome. Awesome. I'm not asking her age. I don't want to know her age. I know she's young, but she's awesome. And we thank God for people like her. Join us next week. Dialogue with Dozie. We're going to do some Final Four stuff. See you then. Thank you, sis.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dozie Land.
All righty.